So, I should have started the old hat cam before I started this job, but I was too dumb to think about it. I got a new truck. It's a 91 F47, aka F450 Super Duty dumper truck with the 7.3 IDI diesel engine in it, and it needs a little work. It's not charging. The alternator looks fairly new, but the regulator looks fairly old. I got one of each. I'm going to put the regulator on first. Hopefully that fixes it, and then I can take the new alternator back, because those are expensive. Because it stopped charging on the way back from the DMV. It was working when I first bought it, at least as far as I know. Now the big problem though is those back two injectors there on the right, they're leaking around these fuel return hats. See, the high pressure fuel comes into the top of the injector through these hard lines here, and when the injector is not injecting, it just flows through, and then like it goes back to the gas tank through these rubber low pressure lines, right? Which drain into these hats, and it's leaking it's leaking bad around those hats on those back two. So I got a kit to replace all of that. It looks exactly the same as what's on the thing, so I guess it's been done before. Who knows how long ago? I don't know. So I was just taking the injectors loose, or not the injectors, but the hard lines going into the injectors, so I can slide those hats up off of there and get all that stuff out of there and put together a new thing for all of that. Put new O-rings on these injectors. I'll finish taking that apart and just show you. I keep in mind, never had one of these before, and I'm not a professional diesel mechanic to begin with, so I may be fully. I don't want to pass myself off as an artificial YouTube expert or something like that. Plenty of them already. You don't need another one, do you? Oh, too old to reach into these things. Anyway, so yeah, the connectors screw off the tops of the injectors there, and then these hats should just slide up off of there. And there are some doodads, that hold all of these hard lines in place there. I took them off so they'd flex a little bit. Hopefully I don't break anything. I guess we'll find out. I've got all the high pressure into the injectors off, and I've got it disconnected from the injection pump right here, and that T back there that goes back to the gas tank. So I think what's supposed to happen now is that these things just pull off of there, and I don't know if I'm going to have to persuade it with a screwdriver. No, there he comes. So hopefully I can just take all those little off of there, and then cut all the hoses the right length on the bench, or on the tailgate I should say, and that'll be a lot easier than trying to squeeze into the back of that engine compartment and do that while I'm standing on this board here. Well, I got him out of there. That stuff doesn't seem, I split it there to get it off that nipple, but that stuff doesn't seem too terribly rotten or anything. That's just a little strange though. I'm pretty sure it was leaking around these hats and not around the high pressure fitting. I'm 95% sure. It was just kind of bubbling out the top and the bottom, it looked to me like. But maybe when the last guy done it, he didn't do the O-rings, or he them up when he put them in or something. I don't know. Well, I guess the new hose is a little more pliable than the old. Maybe it has been on there long enough to, for the O-rings to go bad. Let's see how bad my Harbor Freight box knife blades are at cutting this stuff. I think a little longer than necessary is safer. I'll give it extra eighth or something like that. I think I can cut myself. I'll bet I can. Alright, there's the new one. Some of this hose is pretty brittle. I mean, it's not brittle, but it's really, it doesn't seem brand new is what I'm saying. So maybe that stuff was on there long enough for those O-rings to fail. I don't know. That's just very strange. I'd have thought the hose would have gone before the O-rings, you know what I'm saying? Of course, maybe the O-rings in these rebuild kits aren't worth it. I don't know. According to my readings, they're just number 111 O-rings, though, so you could probably get some real good ones by themselves and use if it starts leaking again. I'm half tempted to put that thing on and try the truck because I didn't see any leaking on the other side. If I put that new one back on there, oof, it'll just make it that much harder to get that T off, because the other hose that goes to the other side here comes off the bottom of that T. I think I'm going to have to take that bracket off. Will be the easiest. Yeah, I think that'll be easiest. But yeah, if I put the rest of that back on there, I'll just have to take it off again to do the other side, and I'm not going to just do one side. That would be silly. So yeah, let me finish this. I'm sure the other side will be exactly the same, except there's a thing on the, I assume it's the number 1 cylinder. I think it has something to do with cold idle timing. It changes the injector timing when the engine's cold or something like that. I don't know why they only do that with 1 cylinder, but I don't know. Maybe I'm full of shit. Like I said, I'm no diesel mechanic. I don't know what the I'm doing. Well, here's the thingamajig off of the top of that number 1 injector. I figured it would have a wire on it, but if it is indeed something to do with the cold start timing advance, sorry about the wind. It must just have a thermostat thing in there, but I don't even hardly see how it works. It's just straight through. This back hose here, it goes down out of this one and underneath all of this. I think that's the glow plug relay right there. But it goes down underneath of that and then comes up into the bottom of this T. And it's got, no, it doesn't hook onto anything else there. I thought that wire right there was a bracket for a second, but it's not. That's a glow plug wire. I think I'm gonna try to unhook this hose right here and pull it out by itself, because otherwise it's going to be a big pain in the to get the rest of that off of there, I believe. Oh, too old to be on my knees like that. That's the thing about these. See, this is all of the other diesel trucks that I've worked on. I've worked on some diesel tractors. I've worked on some big diesel trucks, like farm trucks, you know. They were all bigger than this and had like a commercial cab with the hood that folds forward, and then you can just, you know, get inside of the fender well there and sit on top of the wheel on one side or the other, or stand on it, and you can get to everything real easy. But man, these bigger trucks that use a pickup type cab now, this is a pain in the ass to get the stuff on. If I had to do this very often, I'd fix myself up something like this, except it would be wider and it would go down each side as well, and I'd get some kind of padded thing real thick so that I didn't shove something like a latch up my ass when I sat on it, and I'd just line the whole outside of the thing with that so I could sit on it and lean down in there instead of be on my knees. But anyway, sorry for whining like a little bit. Get out of here, deer fly. You right off. I don't want you climbing down my... Get out of here. Get out of here. That one's done. I am going to be short a couple of hose clamps, but I can just use them off the old hoses, I guess. Here's a... you have to learn the mating call of the 9/16 socket in order to coax it out of the tool bag. See? That was the mating call right there. Alright. Grunt, groan, old man noises. I'm only 46, I'm not that old. Feel like it though. Does that have a... I thought that was, that's threaded into the head. I thought it had a nut underneath that I was going to have to hold. Let's see if we can drop a bunch of... I just got this fancy pants electric rat shit, and I have discovered that it is very handy for dropping bolts down into stuff. It's pretty uptown though. Now that is a long bolt. I hope it wasn't holding something together super important down in there. Oh, that's a manifold bolt. Well, they've probably got a specific torque value. Uh-oh. It'll be fine. Nothing to worry about. Now you can come off of there, you dirty, rotten hussy. I think my deluxe Harbor Freight box knife blade is losing its edge. Oh, I gotta rest my knees, gentlemen. Oh, sorry about that. Oh man, if I could just sit or stand on the wheel, I could lean right over that, get right to it. If I start climbing around in there, I'll screw something up though. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Alright, here we go again. Shove that radiator mount up my butthole, and in we go. Ooh, at least buy me dinner first, truck. Jeez. It didn't really go up my butt. I was just being a weirdo. Expect if it had, I would have made a different noise. You can bend over and come right off of there, right like that. Thank you very much. Now I can drop the end of that hose barb in the dirt. I'm sure it's going back down into the tank though anyway, so it'll get filtered before it goes back into the engine, I think. Those look about the same length. How much you want to bet I can mix them up and stick the wrong one into the truck? It wouldn't be the first time. Have you ever done something dumb, dear viewer? I never have. Never ever. Okay, this one goes inside the truck. Right? Right? Yes. I think I could reuse a lot of this fuel line if I ever had to. I'm going to keep all of it. Never know when you'll need a little piece of, what is this, 1/4 inch? Once more into the breacherooski. My chuds. Yeah, I got a custom hood ornament on this thing too. Came with the truck. It was worth an extra $200 right there. It was. Oh, my knees. Should have bought some knee pads. Bet that would have fixed the whole situation. Alright. Yeah, enough fuel in there. It just came right off. Yes. Okay, let's put my hand on something and crush it. Very good. How was I laying in here before? Something like this, I think. Oh, that's my scrotum there. Hood latch. I'd appreciate it if you didn't tear it off. I mean, I don't use it all that much anymore these days, but a fella never knows, you know what I'm saying? Now this fuel line back here that goes back to the tank. Oh, if it leaks, we'll be able to tell. I'm right on top of those injectors with my elbow, tearing stuff up. Alright. Short that battery out. Crushed my radiator hose. That radiator hose is a little floopy floppy. I had a problem on the F450 with the 300 in it, what I call Eston's truck, because it was my great uncle's truck. Inside of the hose wore out and it started collapsing on itself, making it overheat. Maybe I ought to get a hose for that and put on there just in case, because that was some annoying times, that was. Alright, let's drop some stuff. You ready? I have no idea what to torque that to, or even if it really makes too much of a shit. I'm gonna get it good and tight. If my old man were here, his method was to always torque it until he himself. But I'm gonna be a little more careful. Stretch them threads. You know it's in there when the threads stretch, right? Probably supposed to put some kind of thread locking compound on those manifold bolts. I don't know. Now those copper washers that came in the rest of that stuff, I think those are supposed to go underneath of the injector. I'm not 100% sure on that. I may be full, but they're not supposed to go on any of this stuff, and I'm not taking the injectors out for. That's a fact. I better go with the bottom one first. So I'm gonna leave them out and cross my fingers. So here's a redneck tip for you. I don't know. Maybe everybody else always knows this, but for a long time, when you got something like this that's got two O-rings on it, I'd always take the outside one off first, and then when I took the inside one off and started rolling it up, it would go into the slot that the outside one was in, and I'd have to pry it all out all over again. But if you, oops, well, there went that. If you take the inside one off first, it'll roll right over the outside one, and then you don't have to f around as much less of a pain in the ass. At least that's my opinion on the subject. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, and like I said, I'm no diesel mechanic, that's a fact, but that seems to work for me. I didn't notice this before because I'm a but oh, there's some rust. Oh, here on this, I think it's rust. Not just dirt. Something funny on that back injector there. I could touch it without falling into the truck. Yeah, that's pretty rough. Might ought to have some injectors. That might just be some kind of dirt. I'll clean it off of there with some acetone or something here after I get all those O-rings off there. Oh, alright, here we go. See if we can drop everything. Now, you gotta loop these things up pretty good when you stick them in. Same as you would your old lady. I'm just using motor oil here. I've heard of people using ATF and Vaseline and all kinds of stuff, but it may not make too much of it. Get her down in that first slot there. then we ought to be able to roll number 2 right over top of him. Get down there. Don't believe they're twisted. Probably doesn't matter too much if they are, I don't know. Oh, alright. Got all the O-rings on. Pain in the ass. Wouldn't be mechanicking if it wasn't, I reckon. Now I'm going to try to get these in here and over the tops of the injectors without getting them too awful filthy. That may be easier said than done, I don't know. I got my hoses taped up so I don't have a confuculation here. I hope. Lube these up good. That way the oil can pick up plenty of dirt while I'm trying to wrestle them in there. Right? Okay. Gonna get dry for this, otherwise I'll be slipping around like I'm trying to find the hole on your old lady. Alright. Gotta lay in here, of course. Alright. Now this one goes like so. Right on top there. I'm gonna push them down after I get them all on without getting them in the dirt. That's my plan at least. Okay. Now we gotta push them down all the way until they click according to the book. Alright, based. And these thread on. Now I'll bet you $1. I'll bet you $1 that these things will cross thread about as fast as you look at them. See if I can jam some dirt up in the end of that for you. Shove it on there. You probably can't see what I'm doing. Well, that one started good. I don't feel any funny business there. That one started good. Well, maybe it'll go back together without being a pain in the... By golly, if that was a big hard hydraulic line, this one will be a pain in the... It's all not turning good and stuff. Oh, oh, I knew I'd do that. Should have moved it. Oh well, that'll make the bugs bounce off a little easier, right? Maybe it'll soften that old hard plastic a little bit. And then when I break it while I'm climbing all over this thing, it'll just bend instead, right? Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen. Oh, at least there weren't any O-rings in that thing when I knocked it over. That would have been a note. Now you can loosen up there, little buddy. Come up where I can see the top of the thing you're supposed to go in. Because if I cross thread you, we are going to have a bad day. Oh, laying down again. Well, it feels like it's going on. If it's cross-threaded, the threads are awful soft. Okay, I torqued them until I didn't quit myself. Hopefully that is the correct torque specification. Now I must plug the hose into the T. Have that one dipped in a bunch of diesel fuel to make the tape come off easy. Alright. Turn that clamp around. That should do it. Alright. Hoof. Grunt. Then this one goes onto the injection pump. Very nice. At least that's how it was when I took it off. I assume that's right. The head camera router battery and all of my external battery packs all went dead because I'm a schmuck and I didn't charge them. So the other side went on exactly the same as this side. Is that all the way down? Yep. Except for that one thing that's on what I assume is the #1 cylinder. And everything's back together and tightened down to the English standard value of not quite yourself of torque, and I guess we're ready to put the air cleaner back on and try to get it to run. May have to give it a little blow up your truck juice until it gets primed. I don't know. We'll see. Actually, I guess I probably ought to run it without first so I can more easily see if something is leaking. Hopefully nothing will fly down the intake. I guess we'll find out. Everything's back together, right? We got everything picked up off of the truck. Got plenty of coolant. Maybe a little too much. Worrisome. The battery cables on here that won't stay. Gonna have to fix those. She's gonna crank hard, I know that for a fact. Get those glow plugs good and warm. It's a hot day though. I'll just start without them. My letter blew over. That was probably that oil. Let me give it a tiny, tiny drop. Blow up your truck juice. I hate spraying this stuff straight into an intake. Ugh. Kaboom. Alas, poor diesel. Here we go. Shit was poured out before. supposed to be able to bleed air out of the fuel system up here. I reckon she's glad. I'm going to try to soak up all that fuel with some rags. I don't believe we want all that laying on top of the engine like that. I do believe I see some purple dye in that too. Hope I don't get pulled over by somebody. Guy had a B tag on it. You're not supposed to be running that stuff. If it had farm use I could, but I put an X tag on it. So can't be running off-road diesel in this thing. Oh, maybe there's less of it laying on top of that, what the f you call it, plenum or whatever it is anyhow. Oh, that's why I could smell fuel the other day, I bet. You reckon? From what I've read, another popular place for it to leak is this fuel heater right here, but it doesn't show any evidence of that, so I'm going to leave it alone for now. I think I got the worst of it cleaned up. Wonder if she'll start or if she's already sucked up a bunch of air. It didn't take it long to get before. That wasn't bad. Loping a little bit, but I mean it's still cold. Is that blow by in the intake there? I hope not. I don't see any leaks. And here's a question for you. There's bare metal right here, like there was something attached there at some point. And there's this breather tube thing that goes nowhere. Is there supposed to be something right there? Or what? We have a fire extinguisher that's mostly charged this time, just in case it does catch on fire. So I think the sending unit on the front tank needs replaced, or maybe the wire's just broken somewhere. Although if the wire was broken, it would read full all the time, wouldn't it? I think the one on the rear tank works. I thought it was stuck all the way forward, but after I ran it around on that tank somewhat, it seems like it went down a little bit. Oh. Nope. Turn the steering wheel right side up. So here we are, 5th gear, 50 mile an hour, running 2,000 RPMs. Might be able to make 65 before it redlines, but I don't drive very fast anyway. Well, it's still definitely not charging. I tightened up the alternator belt a little bit. I mean, it wasn't loose to begin with, but I guess you never know. I didn't figure that would fix it. Well, 2200 RPM at 55. She geared pretty low. Kind of curious to see what fuel mileage it makes for. If I get rid of that 4.3 V6, that little old Chevrolet pickup that brakes have been up on for months, why, this may end up being the most fuel efficient vehicle I've got. Like if I can get 15 out of it, it'll beat Eston's truck with the 300 in. Although I guess diesel fuel costs a little bit more. I don't hear it clattering too bad or anything. If I run out of fuel, I guess I'll know that tank was actually empty, but I tried to put fuel into it and it squirted out all over the ground, so I'm assuming it's just the sending unit. Although these flatbeds with the real low fill nozzles, well, they can be kind of hard to get fuel in sometimes. Since it's a dump bed, they're even lower too, because they can't even hook them to the side of the bed. They're just kind of underneath there hanging. I gotta put it, well, I don't know if I really need a park and brake cable or not. I guess it wouldn't hurt to have it, but I trust them a little more parked in gear than relying on the park and brake, to be honest with you. If I did fix it, it'd be the only thing I've got that's got a working park and brake on. I'm going to skip this road construction. Well, she's idling good. Start in second fine without a load on it. Well, if I can get it charging, I think it might be fit to drive to Weston on Friday. That's a hell of a maiden voyage, but I gotta bring a trailer back with me, and I don't trust Chester's brakes. They're a little squishy. I need to replace a bunch of brake lines on him. I think them rubber lines are getting all old and stretched. I don't know. They're just, I mean, they feel firm enough, I guess, but they just don't stop very good. It's not like they got air in them or something. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I just need to put some more aggressive pads on or something. I don't know. nice and cool. Aside from that charge meter, everything looks pretty good on the doohickey. I guess I shouldn't be getting on her so hard on this road, but kind of wanted to burn all the shit out of it, you know what I mean? If I can get the thing charging, I might just take a big drive this evening. Or no, wait, I've got a D&D game this evening. I can't do that. The time isn't. It's not till pretty late. Oh shit, it's only 4 o'clock. I can get that alternator in no time flat. Especially if it's just the regulator. That won't take any time at all. Alright, moment of truth. Let's see if we got fuel laying on top of that thing again. By golly, I think we got it taken care of. Indeed I do. Let's put that regulator in there and see if that fixes that. Don't even have to stand on our head under there for that thing. That's a doohickey right there. Nothing to it. Unplug, take out, plug in, screw back down. Shouldn't be anything to it. I'm not even going to record it. I can't say as I'm tremendously impressed with how that solenoid has to come off of there in order to get to the inside screw on that regulator. Having that thing hanging off of there seems like a good way to have a little bit of a light show. Anyway, let's see if that fixed our charging problem. Nothing laying here, right? No, okay. Punch a hole in this fancy nice seat with these tools in my back pocket. I can't have that. That fixed her right up. Old charge needle's creeping up real slow, light's not on. I believe we got her, boys. Hopefully Eddie will let me return that alternator. Those things are expensive. They say if your engine's cavitating, you'll be able to see some moisture coming out of there. Maybe I have to let it sit first. If it had any, it'll probably bloat it all out when we was driving around. Well, I think I got some better tires to put on it. And I want to flush the coolant and put new coolant in. Make sure it's got all the supplemental coolant additives necessary to keep these things from cavitating. For the moment, I think I want to take it for a test drive, make sure nothing blows up. I'm gonna go get me a pizza. Yeah. Well, the shakedown cruise was a resounding success. I looked under it at the pizza parlor and I didn't see anything dripping. It ran good. I shouldn't say a resounding success. It stalled out once as I clutched to make a turn at a T intersection. But of course, once I let out on the clutch, you know, the engine turned over and it started again. And I didn't have any trouble with it after that. I thought that was a little strange. Seems fine otherwise. That's a little worrisome, but I'm gonna eat my pizza here and then go change them tires, I guess. Old tires off, new tires on. Yeah. Well, the new tires definitely sing the song of the highway, but I guess that's to be expected from rough treads. Heading over to the big to get some stuff, specifically some 55-gallon drums to store water in up on the mountain. I have so much video that I've shot and haven't actually like edited together into a video to The backlog is insane. Sorry this has taken so long. I've just been busy doing stuff more constructive than cutting videos together. So nothing wrong with these battery terminals here. Those are good as new. That's no wonder the thing was cranking so good. I got some marine terminals and put on there. I don't know if they are man enough to crank this thing over or not, but I guess we're going to find out. I still think I'm losing fuel somewhere, or getting air into it, I should say. Well, I reckon that fixed the problem. My theory is that those terminals were so bad that when the starter was cranking over, it was pulling the voltage down to where the fuel shutoff solenoid wouldn't stay open. That's my guess anyway. I'm going to go for a spin here and then see if it'll start back up later on. Based. Alright, let's see. Still left to do. I got to change the coolant and put the proper additive in. I got to change the oil in the filter. I got to change all the glow plugs. I got to figure out why the left turn signals aren't working. I got to fix the windshield wiper switch. I got to replace the front fuel tank sending unit or figure out if it's just a broken wire. I think the sending unit's actually stuck, because I think if it was just disconnected, it would read all the way full all the time instead of all the way empty, but I'm not sure. I need to grease everything, including the jack for the dump bed. I need to make my bull bar for it. I need to put a fuel water separator in front of the fuel filter for when I start running this used motor oil in this thing. I've got the high beam switch on the floor stuck. I think I got some junk I can take one out of for that. I got to put rear brakes on it because one of them's down to the metal. And the trailer brake controller wiring was all up under the hood, like it wasn't safe. There were just some breakers with screw terminals on them just dangling in there. Could have got up against some, so I just unhooked all that stuff. And I need to put a parking brake cable on it. So, oh yeah, and I've got to turn the steering wheel back right side up. I guess somebody had the U-joint at the bottom apart and put it back together upside down or something. It's basically finished other than these just couple of little things. But I'm going to do most of this down at my buddy's shop, and I don't want to film down there because that's always weird, you know, when you have a camera on your head when other people are around, right? You know, I wouldn't want people to think I was a weirdo or something. Right. Yeah, so I'll catch you later once some of this stuff is done. Yeah.